aware that the Mukwe constituency, which is now part of Kavango region, it is used, or historical, it's a party of Caprivi region. And why? Do you know there is why is it now Mukwe now being part of Kavango region? That's the second question. The third question. Before let me put it like this. Who is dividing the people of Caprivi? Who is dividing the people of Caprivi? The foreigner or the Caprivians themselves? My fifth question on education. Can we continue to preach education if there is no restoration which can accommodate the poor and the rich to become level? Because if we are talking of a free education, in other countries and the other continents where they have implemented, a free education can bring development, because whether it's poor or rich, they'll become similar. Other question. Professor, are you aware that in order to bring development in Caprivi, it's not for the foreigner to bring development here, but for the people of Caprivi themselves? Are you aware of that, or you are not aware of that? Because my point is that a foreigner cannot bring a development here. Only the Caprivians can bring through the consultation around the table.
We need to develop an emotion and intelligence to manage it. Please don't be afraid to say, I'm severe, I'm those. That's who you are. In fact, those of us who want to lie about it will be caught off guard when we have to state who we are. How do I explain this? The story of a team of international experts who were invited to go and help a situation in some island. And they had to go by boat. It's a UN team. And the UN must include all national groups. So there were like 60 people on this boat. And they had a disaster coming. So the captain of the boat says, ladies and gentlemen, we have a problem. We are overloaded in this boat. We will not reach our destination to save lives. Some of us must sacrifice our own lives to save the lives where we are going. No volunteer. Are there people who want to jump out of the boat and die to help? Can I get volunteers? Maybe we must do it in an alphabetical order. Africans. No hand went up, but they were. African Americans. And there was a big delegation from South Africa. That means, yeah, blacks, coloreds. So this one UN official had his son with him. They came from Natal in Zululand. And he taught his children, we're Africans. We're not Zulus, we're not this. We're Africans first. We're not even black, we're Africans. You understand, children? Okay. So the boy says, Daddy, they were asking for us. They said Africans. Didn't you tell us that we were Africans? Today we are Zulus. We'll be the last to go. Don't become tribal when it hurts. Yeah? Defend your identity. Because when you defend yours, others will defend theirs, and you become strong together. Education is very, very important. We will not grow as a region, as a country, as a continent, if we don't educate ourselves first. Yes, Malume, foreigners cannot develop. Here is the yardstick. Who shall be buried in Capri? Yes. Those who answer the question, I shall be buried there, must take responsibility to develop this area. I still do not understand, my friends, that there is no college or a university of agriculture in this place. It doesn't make sense to me. I went to the fish market. You just go and see. Is there a place where that fish is stored, protected, processed for the external market? Nothing. Ndongo and Ngongo. You can grow anything in this part of Namibia. Are we paying attention to it? My friends, development is not only when we live in beautiful buildings. It's when we have enough to eat, when our children have enough schools that work, when there is peace and stability. And development will come only when the people here want to develop. And then you can invite people to come and help with advice, expertise. But you must decide where your strengths lie. How can we level the rich and the poor? Unfortunately, the rich in our country is getting richer and the poor is getting poorer. And those who have connections with the state are getting richer at the expense of the majority of the people. We Africans have a problem. Even apartheid looked better after its own people. That's how white people ended up here to teach Kizito in other places. It was creation opportunity for the Afrikaners to send their people to come and build roads. All they needed to say to the government of apartheid is, I want to be a farmer. The government gave you the cheap laborers, the government gave you the fertilizers, they gave you the tractors, they gave you the land, then you only started to pay 10 years later. Are we doing that as part of our planning? No. Who's dividing the people here? I don't know. I suspect the people themselves. Mahatma Gandhi, Martin Luther King, Frantz Fanon used to preach, another person can ride on your back only if you bend it. If you walk straight, nobody will climb on your back because they fall off. When we complain about oppression, bear in mind that there is no oppression where the oppressed people do not participate in their own oppression. The oppressed people always participate in their own oppression and complain later. I can guarantee you that you will find records in the government books, archives. I know for a fact times when the president, particularly Sam Nujoma, would find a Caprivian minister, a Kavango minister, and comrade, we need more from your region. Can you go and look around and bring us some names? The president means well. You know what a Kavango, what a Caprivian minister comes to do? They will come, go back and send them in to the president. There are no people, I'm the only one. The others are all drunkards. Because we want to eat alone. Other nations promote each other. But Caprivians, they would rather go somewhere else. They would rather find somewhere else from another area so that they don't feel threatened. divide and rule continues. You see, oppression mutates and takes on different formations. In the end, it's the Caprivian that stands in the way of another Caprivian. That's how oppression works. Mukwe, for a while, Mukwe fell under the Caprivi region. But people, they became restless. Someone instigated them, said, please agitate now. You are being run by foreigners. And it became a very big problem. So Mukwe had to be given to the Kavango administration. Always, throughout history, there are a few people who control the emotions of others. In America, they say, hey, oppressors always work through one person. You appoint somebody that you from the group and use that person to oppress the group. They call it the theory of the head Negro in charge. Head Negro in charge. You get one from them, you pump them up with resources, you fatten them, they become your commissar to oppress the others. When you look around, you see a lot of examples in Africa. And that's why many of our leaders invest their money not in our own banks, but where? Swiss banks, English banks. When Mobutu Sese Seko died, they found a house in France that had 100 bedrooms. Who need a house with 100 bedrooms? For what? That is how the white world uses us to enrich their market. In fact, when he died, no one could remember where he banked his money. That money is now in European banks. They reinvest it, they grow the economy at the expense of African people. The problem is with us. Before independence, what was Capri? Go further than that. Before the Odendaal plan that divided up Namibia into 10, 12 regions, what was Capri known as? It's for you to answer, not for me to answer. There was a reality here that was used in the divide and rule process. The Caprivians were not even divided at that time. They were divided along tribe, ethnic group, language, school, what have you. Sometimes they were divided along who was taller than the other, who had more beautiful women than the other. We are victims of our own history. We need to change our education curriculum. We need to teach our children what is good for them and for the future. You see, India was just as oppressed by the British. The economy of India changed fundamentally and drastically and permanently the day Mahatma Gandhi took off the three-piece suit and he wore a loin cloth to go and work on the salt plantation of India. The president or the prime minister became involved in the economy of his country. How do you expect the economy here to grow if the people who were born here buy farm in Ochodonjupa? Huh? When they build homes, their birthplace is Linyanti. Ways. They go and build a permanent home on a farm near Gate Mansour. How do you hope to develop here? Some of us have argued very strongly that Mr. Mandela made a terrible mistake when he left office and he took retirement in Johannesburg in a Jewish neighborhood. Can you imagine what Soweto would have become if Mandela went and took retirement in Soweto? There would be an airport in Soweto now. They are building an airport in Vezo, in Kunu, where it is now. We need to plan as Africans. We need to think. If I cannot invest in my own place, who will invest in my place? We run away from our poverty. And poverty chases after those that we leave behind. We forget that we were once baboons. I'm so grateful, Malume, that you represent the poor, the vulnerable, the voiceless. They say a good measure of society is not in how it looks after the most powerful and the strong. A good measure of society is how it looks after the vulnerable, the aged, the sick, the disabled. Those who are in the twilight of life. Those who are in the margins of life. The women who were terrorized, abused, misused, overused, underused, discriminated against, marginalized by custom, tradition, and practice. Society is measured by how it looks after those who are in the dawn of their life, the children. How are we mortgaging a future for our children? We have to have a change of mind. They say you can tell the difference between a white person, a white group, and an African group. White people have what they call the ants. What ants? The little ants in Lozi. No, twa is the things that fly when there's light. Little ants. Is it what? Little ants. When ants survive, if you put honey here, and one ant walks by and finds the honey, in less than an hour there will be a colony of ants. True? He will go back and say, hey, food is here. Come. That's white civilization. White people behave like that. You give one a land here, in 5 years there will be 12 families. Blacks, Africans, we have a crab culture. Crab in the water, there's 6 legs. If you have 6 of them in a water pond, they will stay where you leave them. If one of them wants to get out by struggling to overcome the difficulty, the others will pull it out. Hey, where are you going? Stay with us. That's our problem. They call it pull him down syndrome, PhD. When one of us becomes successful, hey, winner, stay with us. Where did you see the wealth being accumulated in a few hands anywhere else in the world but in Africa? Namibia is number 2 on the index of the widest disparities. First South Africa and then Namibia. The gap between the rich and the poor is so wide in Namibia. A population of 2 million people. How wide will it be when we are 10 million? We are cold, we are heartless towards our own people. Thank you, Malume, for highlighting that. And we look to you for leadership and inspiration. We look to you for wisdom. This land of the brave, there's a lot of people who are afraid. We need to overcome our fear. I can tell you that some people wanted to come today, they're scared. They don't want to be misunderstood, to be mixing with the enemy. Who is the enemy? There is no enemy in Namibia. We die together, we live together. So we need to find ourselves as Namibians so that we can support and nurture one another. This is important for the benefit of our children. We cannot go on like this. And we need to get educated. We need to get the facts about life. We need discussions like this, so that when you go back, you can say, oh, I learned something today. And you pass it on to another person. That's the only way you can survive. And time is very limited.